Many greetings. And first of all, I would like to request to generate your motivation towards the Bodhicitta, where you have to um, generate your mind by receiving this teaching for the benefit of all sentient beings to be liberated. With this, mm, uh, so mm, so we are in the uh, part of the Bodhicitta. Mm, so as we when we go through the sadhana of Mondo, we have refuge. Then after the refuge, we have the bodhisattva while receiving or generating practice. And then we have the four immeasurable thoughts. And so the main part of the Mondo is the four ongoing practice. And of course, the four common. But the foundation is always the motivation for the benefit of all sentient beings. So that is the ground, one could say. And with this, in here in the commentary, as being explaining the roots of the sadhana. So when there is a part of generating the bodhicitta, it is not only okay to just know what are the bodhicitta and how to receive it, but how to apply in the daily life with the practice of Lodro. So basically, starting from yesterday, is more towards the Lodro practice itself. So those who would like to engage the Lodro, and I would recommend this bodhicitta of cultivating merits, uh, uh, which there is the content is the generation of bodhicitta connected with going for refuge. So mainly the body generating the bodhicitta practice itself, the practice of Lojong. So in Kadam, is a lineage. Kadam is a lineage where it follows the mostly doctrine of the Buddha, which was taught by great Bodhicitta. So since in this lineage there were like very out of number Kadamba masters, mainly practiced mind training, and they have composed many individual instruction texts. So one of them would be the most well-known, the 7 point of mind training. And there is also 8 point of mind training. And also there are the numerous of Lamrim. How do you call Lamrim?
The stages of the path.
The stages of the path for the three different types of mind, which we call it Josum, Yuptama, Jing, Rap.
The three kinds of individuals of lower capacity, medium capacity, and higher capacity.
So we have so most of the instruction was is mainly targeted for the mind training practice. So we have like the three individuals way of origins of practicing. So basically, if we let's say summarize all this practice in short, it would be, although it is the bodhicitta, as we have gone through the ultimate and relative, and the so as we have gone through yesterday, ultimate is the most part where it is related with the selfless practice or nothingness or emptiness, what name term we use, but it's more towards the nature of emptiness, let's say, the state of such. And in that way, there's no much, although there are the trainings, so those are mainly are the practice of Mahamudra, which is the one way of ultimate bodhicitta, one way one can say the Mahamudra practice, where it engaged with the ultimate truth or stage. So according to the relative, is more, as we have gone through yesterday, compassion, and ultimate is wisdom, referring most to in that way. So in relative, we have gone through aspirational and engaging too. And basically we have gone through such orders where we can reflect and so forth. And also we have gone through some way to be aware, cultivating the four positive and being aware of the four negative, to be abandoned, to avoid, and so forth. And as well as the 10 actions of the Bodhisattva. So we have gone through that yesterday. For the 10 class of the principle, so mostly we have on this. This is very clear definition or very very quite clear. So so that includes mainly the practice of the aspiration and bodhicitta part. And now we will continue with the second, which is the engage bodhicitta. So therefore we continue with the commentary.
Shall I read the text, Rinpoche?
Yes.
As for the precepts of engaged bodhicitta, if you want a good harvest, seeds alone are not enough. You have to put work into cultivating them. Likewise, the mere intention to attain Buddhahood is not enough. The mere intention to attain Buddhahood practice of the conduct of enlightenment, you must sow whatever practice of the conduct of enlightenment. This means the six transcendences. Giving generously, this means the six guarding discipline, giving practicing patience, cultivating diligence, practicing and training well in dhyana, cultivating diligence, and training well in dhyana and prajna. As it is said, there is not anything at all. As it is in which the victor's children there is not anything at all. In which the victor's children practice all the roots of virtue, and rejoice in those practice that all the roots of virtue, and rejoice in those that others do.
So here, as this mainly describe the engaging towards the bodhicitta, mainly in action. Well, so in here, I just mentioned, with the seed alone are not enough. So in that, which means when we, although we, if even though we wish sincerely to be liberated with the full-hearted intention, and just with that kind of intention, although those are the very solid foundation to be accumulated, but that won't be enough until we put in the daily basis of actions. For example, during the session, let's say 1 session, 2 session, 3 or 4, whatever kind of session we engage towards the Dharma. The Dharma is not only during period of the session where we only cultivate merits through aspiration and so forth, but it's mostly need to be done in the let's say we call it the 4 actions, do, cha, nyal, tuk, which is in the daily basis we walk and stay, sleep, and of course rest. So with this kind of 4 action, it's kind of a very long time. It's not only during the session, but this is a part of life in a day. So we have to engage our bodhicitta in this for action of our daily basis. So in that way, so there are so many kind of actions. So according to the Lojong, it describes the practice during the session, the practice when we are out of a session, we are not, let's say, in the process of meditation, like out of any time beside the session, when we walk or talk, and also when we face high and low kind of emotional challenges. So in that way, we have to apply the bodhicitta. So in that terms, in here, in mind training, they say that one's need to carry our journey according to the practice. So which means one's need to carry on the challenges towards the bodhicitta's direction, where when we face negativity, when we face positivity, what kind of circumstances, whether it is like between or like how to say, where it's more nothing, a period of time where we are not excited, not or like not in the high or low, in just like a time of nothingness. What kind of time we have to try to make it towards the bodhicitta, so that a day becomes meaningful. So when we do this kind of action each day, then a year, month, or like a week, that becomes meaningful. So in a way, the life journey becomes meaningful. So these are the way to train oneself. So with that, it is said that, of course, we have to train. We have the phrases from the Bodhisattva Thaye avatar, where there's nothing at all which is big to where children will not train. So if we try to train, then we can able to develop slowly by slowly. So in action, it includes the 6 parameters. So it is already written here. So then, so in that way, just aspiration, although this is the foundation, but is needed support of our effort in the for action of our daily basis. So this is that. So we continue.
Loving kindness is the wish that all sentient beings may encounter happiness they never had before, and that they be brought to its cause, virtue. Compassion is the wish that sentient beings may be free of the present suffering, is the wish that sentient beings may be free of the present suffering, and at its cause joy is rejoicing in the present physical comfort and mental happiness. Joy is rejoicing in the present physical comfort and mental happiness. There is no difference in importance between you and anyone sentient being. There is no difference in importance between you and anyone sentient being, such as your mother. Is having no sense of closeness or distance toward that being, no sense of any sentient being or distance, and feeling the same for them, or any sentient being, not being attached to one and feeling the same for them, not being meditating in such a way and averse to another. For immeasurable sentient beings throughout the reaches of space, without any distinction of enemy, throughout the reaches of space, without any distinction of called the four immeasurables, friend or neutral. These are the quintessence of the Dharma, and must be central to your practice from the time you begin the yoga of the Mahayana. And must be central to your practice from the time you begin the yoga of the Mahayana.
With this, this mainly explains the 4 immeasurable mind, where we apply in the end of receiving the Bodhisattva vow. So in that way, we have the loving kindness and um, um, loving kindness and compassion and love, the accumulate the Tangyam
Is equanimity.
image. So it is four. So in here we apply this for the sake of all sentient beings, so that it becomes immeasurable. So so in here, loving kindness, definition of that is mainly a mind where wishes a being to achieve the goodness, wishing other the happiness, the most joyful. May the sentient beings attain all the goodness. So this is known to be mainly known to loving kindness. Then we have the compassion. Compassion, with this definition, is mainly, let's say, a mind mainly focused towards someone to be separated from the suffering. Separation from the suffering, where it focuses mostly on the suffering. And the loving kindness mainly focuses on the goodness to be attained. Compassion to be separate. Compassion mainly focused towards the suffering to be separated. So this, and then we have the love. Yeah, this is the so in here, the definition of love, not to be separated with the object or what kind of, here, may the sentient beings never be separated from the joy or the happiness. So basically, when we start to read like a or watch kind of like a romantic movie, whatever. So mostly the part is the person or the two person not to be separated, right? So the focus is not to be separate. In the same way, not to be separated, to be one. So in this Buddhist, the love is not to be separated, the being from the joys, from the peaceful state. So when we look at our, let's say, a loving child towards their parents, we do not need to, let's say, explain love, compassion, and how to say loving kindness towards them. They have the nature towards the loving child, towards them, like the parents, because the child, if they love their parents, they wish well-being for the parents. So loving kindness is there. And they don't want their parents to be selfish. Compassion is there. And they wish them not to be separated from peaceful or whatever kind of positivity. So love is there. So then we have to accumulate this. So here in Mahayana, for the greater vehicle, so we are not differentiating. For example, in Buddhist, especially in Mahayana, we believe all the sentient beings are they have the Buddha nature. So in that way, all are equal. And let's say the children from a mother are equal as the children, or having the quality of the mother in them. In that way, all are equal. So in that way, it is unfair to treat a one child very well and not and try to ignore the rest child. So that is not appropriate way to do so. So in the same way, we try to not only kind of love towards one family and try to, how to say, ignore the rest of the world sentient beings. And that will be kind of, let's say, a one-sided, not being generous, not being able to, how to say, share this kind of quality to everyone. Everyone do deserve love, kindness, and so it's not for one side. Although we know that we can able to provide love and compassion to all sentient beings, but we rather choose only our related one, not the other, even though there's a possibility. So questioning with this, try to see what is there any big reason to do so, but in fact, there's nothing much because we have strong connection with our relative in this life. So in that way, we make a sight. But eventually, if we're able to, how to say, go much deeper, then we can able to learn more deep quality of love and compassion, not a one-side kind of compassion and love. And that becomes a small individual compassion. So from the surrounding or what in every direction, so it is very important to go to its purest form of for immeasurable thoughts, where it becomes not for individual but for general. Because love has no limit, compassion and loving kind can. So in that way, we have to apply this for all sentient beings. So, so in that logical way, it makes sense to generate, to engage, because when we try to kind of engage with the one side or individual, this kind of four qualities. And at the same time, when you do, you will be aware that I'm doing so. And that makes a habit for difficult to generate the actual form of the loving kindness, love, compassion, and so forth. So in that way, in Mahayana, we try to open up our capacity for all sentient beings. So that is one reason to generate the four. So it is important in our daily basis to apply, not to treat only your relative good, but in general for all people, because they are all same as like we are. So in that way, there is no regret or or uncomfortness when we do so. So as we have gone through regretting to the virtue, so that is one part of the danger. So be aware. And with this, we continue.
In the instructions of the Kadampa tradition, you develop loving kindness in your being by contemplating the relationships of cause and effect. It is necessary to achieve Buddhahood no matter what. As its cause, bodhicitta is necessary. The cause of that bodhicitta is necessary. The cause of compassion is loving kindness. The cause of compassion is loving kindness. The cause of that is appreciating what others have done for you. The cause of that is appreciating what others have done for you. The cause of that is that you must know all sentient beings have been your parents. The cause of that is that you must know once you know that you must first contemplate the kindness of your loving mother. You must first contemplate the kindness of your loving mother. Then, in the same vein, loving kindness for expand your meditation wider in the same vein to include all your meditation wider and wider to include all living, breathing creatures.
So from here, we have different kind of advice. We have sometimes it becomes kind of confusing because it is like many advices in one. So how to relate with? So till here is one advice. So in this mostly like letting us be aware and advising to ourselves when we go through such phases. Where one of the here the mention is the Kadamba way of doing practice, where we in the tradition of the Kadamba or the mind training way. So in the Kadam tradition is most practice of cultivating merits, cause and effect, reflecting on cause and effect. By reflecting on the cause and effect, knowing what is right and what is wrong. And in that way, we try to learn suffering. We try to learn liberation by mostly through a logical way, which makes sense in our life. With this, we have to come towards a point where liberation is important. Liberation is much needed. So let's say try to go along with this order. In here, now we are not just, I'm not just giving a teaching. This is more like the meditation teaching, where we need to apply to ourselves, not just listen and contemplate. The first is we need to achieve liberation. So see within ourselves whether Liberation plays a big importance in your life, yes or no? Enlightenment plays a big importance in our life, yes or no? First, try to see this, let's say in a day. Question this when you are in a very good state. Question this again when you are very low state. Question this again in the middle of like any time. If you have a different question, I mean answer, then it means that you have not strong enough of a liberation attitude. So first apply this towards yourself. Liberation is important, yes or not? If liberation is important, do I actually want to achieve how much I would like to achieve? So try to contemplate those kind of way. And by learning that the liberation is important, and knowing that the liberation can be achieved only through the practice of bodhicitta, and try to see whether one takes bodhicitta very important or less, how much effort or strong kind of one gives towards the bodhicitta. So the bodhicitta mainly comes in order to liberate sentient beings from the suffering. To do that, we are actually want to attain enlightenment, mainly focusing for the sentient beings who are suffering. So that is compassion. And the compassion. So try to see the compassion, how much important the compassion is. And the compassion goes along with the loving kindness. And so the bodhicitta, the enlightened mind, or the liberation, and also loving kindness, compassion, see how much those are important. And try to come to a point how much this can be benefit towards the being. How many being can be really benefit when we can actually do so. So looking at the benefit of such by the liberation. So to order to train that, to generate compassion, so we need to have this feeling where we actually need to able to see all sentient beings as our parents or siblings, like most precious one. So with this, we have the saying of first we have to know mother, and then to have compassion is not very easy. So try to give an example with our own parents, like let's say father or mother, whatever. Let's put it in a mother. Try to know mother first. The mother is the one who gave birth for us, and so know mother, and then know the kindness of the mother. So the second part, the kindness, where the mother gives her all for oneself happiness. When we get cold, they try not to let us to feel cold. When we are warm, they try not to feel hot. So they try the best to make our life in the comfort. They serve their life. They waste their time for us so that even though time is very precious, they can do many things, but they spend their precious life towards oneself. So remember the kindness of mother. The second. The third is now repay their kindness. So these stages are very important. So when person can apply these 3 steps in their life, mainly towards their parents, then apply slowly that with the sentient beings, where all sentient beings have gone through being our mother. So in that way, try to repay their kindness and try to be more compassionate. So these are the Kadamba way of mind training.
Shall I continue?
So in that way, apply this towards all sentient beings who can able to breathe, or like since there is a being, try to wish this for all the existence of the beings. So yeah, we continue.
The 2 causes of ruin are pretending to be a bodhisattva from a hope to be seen by others as a good Dharma practitioner, or as a good Dharma practitioner, out of a wish for food, or clothing and reputation, out of a wish for food, from a hope that things will be better for you than for others, from a hope that things will be better for you than for others, pretending to be other than you are and calling yourself a realized being, pretending to be other than you are and calling yourself a realized being. You must apply the remedy of meditating on the difficulty of obtaining. You must apply the remedy of meditating on the difficulty of obtaining a precious human birth and on
So
impermanence.
these are the danger for the practitioner. For example, especially where there's a spiritual community, such where the people do have image to spiritual very highly, the country or whatever. So knowing the value of the religious and taking this advantage for self kind of fame or self-interest instead of having the pure quality. So those are the one of the obstacles. So, for example, when there's a person, we try to act like more spiritual. When the person leaves, then we become to a normal as being doing nothing. And like kind of, although it is individual, but mainly targeting fooling someone. That is not the correct way. So there's a danger, it is said, for spiritual, when they actually engage, they will go through such kind of respect and phrases and so on. And people start to support and look towards one's, like to you as like a inspirational kind of person. And if we go focus more on this, on the respect, fame, although in the beginning that wasn't the concern, but when people started to give or offer this kind of and mostly one should concentrate towards our practice, but more distracted towards the fame, offering, whatever. Then in the end, one's end up not being focused on the spiritual, but more towards the materialistic way. So in the end, even though the practitioner becomes unpractitioner. So that is the one of the biggest obstacles one can ever achieve. So, so those are the obstacles which it is mentioned here. So it is said that the obstacle mainly doesn't come from outside. Mainly it comes while you do spiritual practice. Mainly when you are how to say, engaging towards such high practices. So we have to be aware when things start to become more serious in this matter. So these are very clear. So this is a part of advice to be aware of the obstacles. So we continue.
Engaging in a few virtuous activities or a bit of Dharma practice, while merely aspiring to enjoy the comforts of gods and humans in future life, is contrary to bodhicitta. And humans in future life, as a remedy, is contrary to bodhicitta. Remember the faults of samsara as a remedy, karmic cause and effect. You should remember the faults of samsara. You just think of your own aims cause and effect, and do not develop the wish to benefit think of others. Your own aims. You have made a fundamental wish to benefit others. So meditate on the equality of self and meditate on the quality as well as on the equality of self and others for others, as well as on this is especially important for others. You and all sentient beings are equal in wanting happiness. You and all sentient beings are equal in not wanting happiness. You are also equal in not wanting to suffer, the lack of own being. You are also equal in the dharma. You are one, and they are lack of own being. So they are not just equal to you, and they are far more important. So they are not just equal to you. Therefore, they are far more important. You shall wish to achieve Buddhahood, and then bring all sentient beings to that state. You shall wish to achieve Buddhahood, and then bring all sentient beings to that conviction in your mind. You must have a deep and certain and not just leave it in your mind as a mere intellectual understanding, and not just leave it as a mere intellectual understanding.
So here, and so here, this is also a different advice again, where we have to be aware of our aspiration, the importance, where we should not, as having a bodhisattva vow, we should not dedicate our marriage towards a repair of comfort, whether in this or in the future life. So that kind of, when we start to see less importance to the being more than oneself, then individually, indirectly, the vow, the commitment becomes just a word, not with the strong intention. So in that way, so we have to apply to regain that kind of the attitude through seeing other beings not very important, like seeing oneself very important than others. Make a reason that we all are same. So try to see oneself as being not higher than anyone else. So seeing everyone has the same feelings, emotions, and want to achieve the goodness as we do. So in that way, and of course, when we talk about other beings, doesn't point to an individual, but all the counters of sentient beings. So one thing what we should understand that the idea of others is a one way of encouraging our confidence because we are making our capacity of confidence in a very higher level where we can able to, how to say, carry more stronger mind. So in that way, yes. So then we continue.
To enhance this, do not cherish yourself, but treasure any one sentient being far more than yourself, so that you will be willing to undergo even terrible suffering for the sake of others' happiness. Your actions and intentions must be solely for the benefit of others. Now, must be solely when we do even a trifling virtue, now we do it to benefit ourselves. When we do what someone else tells us to do, we do it for that else tells us to do. Acting like this, for that person will not get us anywhere. Acting like this, everything you do will not get us anywhere. Pacing, do everything you do, walking, not to mention Dharma activity, lying down and sitting with the wish to benefit others. Solely with the wish to benefit others.
Yes, with this.
When you are
with this. So this is another. So this is another advice. So. So. So here we come to a point where one is important that when we accumulate merits by engaging to spiritual practice, thinking is this is my duty, and so and the idea of although we engage with the spiritual, but the having the idea, mind practice, my Guru Yoga, my refuge, and my merits of such a strong of self. Although in the beginning, it is important to have, but in the end, where we come to a point of being actually engaging towards benefiting others. So in that point of view, we have to cut our ego as seeing our practice as very personal and seeing other practice as not my business. So one way is quite confusing because this is very common in a society where sometime when you see a being really needs your support and let's say from a very strong suffering, instead helping them, we come to, like I'm practicing Charasic by chanting Om Mani Padme Hum. So this is more important than your suffering and your neediness. Although both are virtue, but in one, this is the actual action where you can able to serve. So in that kind of seeing oneself practice as the virtue, but the other of being generous is a part of a very strong virtue, but not seeing the importance. So these are one way of like awareness towards such obstacles. So in that way, we should not, engage with this kind of thing. Instead, see the importance of what really matters. Um, uh, and like chanting money mantra or what kind of prayers. And later on, can you kill one animal for the breakfast, for the lunch, for the dinner? Like, so even though you're doing one virtue and stop killing are also a virtue, because those are the more serious kind of life-taking risk. So, like, of course, money mantra important, but when it comes to fact of life and death, of very strong suffering, so it becomes a different matter as well. So in that way, just self-virtue centered kind of, that is the wrong view we're just mentioning here. So more than that, the sentient beings are important, and the virtue might be there are many forms. Actual virtue is to benefit things in reality. So we continue.
When you are beset by illness and duns, or pain by slander, when the afflictions increase and so forth, gather everything sentient beings do not want, and heap it on top of that. Sentient beings do not want. When suffering occurs on top of that, know that it is karma from the past, and do not be depressed. That it is karma from the past. Take on and do not be depressed of others. Instead, when you are comfortable and happy of others, devote your wealth and influence towards virtuous hands. Devote your wealth and influence towards virtuous hands, but employ your body and speech for virtue. In sloth, but employ your aspiration prayers that all sentient beings be happy and comfortable. Make aspiration prayers that all sentient beings be happy and comfortable. Do not get entangled in self-interest, no matter what you do. Do not get entangled and make all your Dharma practice no matter what you do for ego clinging. And make all your Dharma practice an antidote for ego clinging.
No, no. With this is also now a different advice. So this is a way of mind training.
The one afterwards, yeah?
So with this, it's exchanging mind training, where when we come to the phases of being low or suffering mentally or physically, whatever kind of, take that as the suffering of all sentient beings, and take that, may the all sentient beings suffering dissolve towards the one I'm facing now as the suffering. So it's a kind of practice in the daily basis, carrying on the obstacles. When you come to a very low at point where lacking of confidence or any related. So when you go through such, there's also a way of practicing this as taking this very momentary of phases of suffering. May all the sentient beings suffering gathered in my own suffering, and and also dissolve towards my suffering. and by that may all be liberated or separated with the compassion. And then when you come to a phase where you are high, positive, everything, try to be more generous, that may this be the ultimate happiness of all sentient beings, so that I would like to offer this to all. And then not only aspiration, but like wish, may all sentient beings be attained with this unseparate, similar to the four measurements, so that it kind of becomes the antidote for self-ego clinging. So with this, I think we will take 3 minutes break. Okay. So from here, we continue. So,
I'm sorry. When you are beset by together with the breath you inhale, the blackness of all the suffering, wrongdoing, and obscurations of all sentient beings enters you through your nostrils and dissolves into your heart. When you breathe out, exhale through your nostrils all the virtue and happiness you have accumulated since beginning last time, in the form of white light. Think that by giving each sentient being a portion, they all achieve Buddhahood, and meditate on sympathetic joy. Continuously recite, when happy, I dedicate my virtue to all. May benefit and happiness fill space. When sad, may the suffering of all ripen on me. May the ocean of suffering run dry. Even at the time of death, when you cannot practice anything else, do sending and taking once with your last breath.
With this, we have a different practice, which is very common in the Lojong practice. So, where we mainly focus towards the on our breathing, as I think I have explained yesterday, where we breathe, inhale all the suffering of others in the form of black bit of air, dark air, and you apply, breathing out, exhale with the positivity in the form of white air. So, so this is the exactly way how to do, and we have the phrases. Where this is very beneficial and important quote, which really helps oneself towards the Lojong practice. In Tibetan, it goes, "Kinan te wa tsozo no penden nam ka gangwa shu. Dona kunje dongwa men, dongwa chasuji kemba shu."
When happy, I dedicate my virtue to all. May benefit and happiness fill space. When sad, may the suffering of all ripen on me. May the ocean of suffering run dry.
So we have two meaning with the two example. So the meaning is the same way we have gone through earlier. When we come to a phase of the comfort or peace, may that state be dedicated for all sentient beings. For that example is the sky filled with the joy and filled with the vast sky, which is unlimited. May the sky unlimited may be filled with the joy. And then we have the second phrase, where when we come to a phase of low suffering, may all sentient beings and all the three times of um, sin or negative action, may this dissolve within myself so that I have done some meaningful act. So in a way, with that example, that may the ocean of suffering be dry, and there's no suffering, even the slightest of pain never exists, or may dissolve within oneself. So this sentence are very, very how to say beneficial. It will be very nice. One can to recite like a mantra time to time. So it is very kind of a strange inner life. We go through many different process of practices. Time to time wonder, time to time suffering, of like try to learn about the suffering of others, where our mood mostly becomes upset of knowing mostly targeting ourselves towards the suffering. For that, we have one example. One of the great Kadamba master is also known as Manama, the dark face, where he always focused on the pain of the other beings, physically, mentally. So in that way, his face is always in very upsetting kind of look, and it is known that he have laughed a smile 201 times, which was one day when he was at his session. There was offering water bowls. So normally it is filled with the rice and so forth for the accumulating marriage towards the refuge, this item of the statue. So he saw a rat picking up the rice which is on the offering bowls, and the rice had a very difficulty to collect the rice. So in a way, he felt strange and laughed. And that was one of the rarest time where he have, had a mood where he was being smiling and laughing. So, so for example, like this, when we focus on the suffering for mind training, common mind training, or any kind of related with the renouncing worldly life kind of actions, we focus more on the depressing part. And when we focus on the Guru Yoga, it's more towards devotion part. And also, Lojong is more about compassion. So it is one way whether you're doing correct Lojong, yes or not. it shows the result on your mood. If you feel more compassionate, more let's say loving, what kind of it means that now you are more compassion. The actual practice of Lodro or the practice of Bodhicitta actually works. So these are the way to be become to be aware for like to let us aware of whether we are doing correctly or not. The actions speak itself. Mhm. So the exchange practice is very important. So if one can able to do so many kind of practice, very good. But at least if you know how to do even a such practice of exchange positivity, negativity to one another, that is more than enough. There won't be a much better practice than this. So one should not see less, uh, uh, should not see this practice as less. So we continue.
When physical illness, mental suffering, lawsuits, debts, or anything unwanted occurs, do not resent others. Think that it is caused by your own self-cherishing and take the blame on yourself. Enemies, friends, and neutral people are the basis of mind training and aids in purifying wrongdoing and obscurations. So think how very kind to you they all are. Do not do or say anything with the hope that others will think you have no ego clinging. Your behavior should be in accord with the Vinaya, pure and sincere. Do not speak of others' faults. You should recognize that the faults you see in others are your own impure perceptions. Also, give up pointing out others' flaw, speaking harshly, reciting wrathful mantras to non-human spirits, and so forth. Do not pass off onto others difficult tasks that befall upon you. Burden others with blame for your own wrongs, and so forth. It is wrong to even think about delighting in an adversary's defeat, considering it good that an enemy has died, hoping for offering and renown when another falls ill, and so forth.
Now, with this, we have a different advice again. So, where it says, when all the negative occurs, and we have to actually see that it actually comes when we cling ourselves strongly. For example, in the Lojong, we try to cut our ego, self-cleanness. So in that way, we try to blame everything towards oneself. And one thing is, it is true also that with self importance, everything matters. Let's say a person would like to make such perfection of everything, the house, and so forth. Let's say there is 10 person in a house. So one person mainly see his idea very important, and he's always correct. And then he starts to kind of make everything according to his wish. The design, the house, the wallpaper, the carpet, also the timing of lunch, breakfast, or dinner, what kind of uh, uh, everything. And when things doesn't go accordingly, then everything becomes chaos. When things doesn't done well, and the rest 9% doesn't care anything about it because they have nothing to do. They don't go the same process of perfection, even though the timing, they don't care. Even though there's a difference in the colors of the house, they don't notice, like because they don't see things important. Only to the person who sees important, they observe those kind of all the things up and down they feel because they already have a strong aim and like structure in their mind. So basically, when we start to build a very strong structure through our perfection or strong kind of clinging towards one's idea, one's concept, then there will be, if you lose something, there will be a pressure. If you win something, there will be more affectionate and so forth, because you have already put so much effort in the foundation of self-clinging. So in the reality, that caused everything. And that is why person is going through a lot of up and down. The rest of the 9 people doesn't care, don't go up and down. So like with that kind of example, in life, whatever comes up and down, try to know that this is mainly coming from our mindset. So the mindset of self-clinging is something that we should be aware that that has a danger of leading to us up and down. And actually, so we have to be aware that the clinging, the mindset is a way causes everything. So in that way, it has strong value. So we should not see that value towards clinging, but be more useful that we should put that effort to others. So it said that like the enemy, the relative, or every sentient beings are the actual object to be practiced mind training, where you accumulate merits through them, through their negative action. So instead of being upset and removing, try to take those as advantage to develop our inner quality. So in that way, so we should be careful where when we try to have enemy. So through that we have the chance to develop. If there's no one in the house, where you gonna scold, where you gonna phrase, right? So there should be a person to be phrased, to be scolded. So same way, to be more compassionate, to accumulate merit, there should be ascendant beings. Also, enemy is a person that is the possibility we can able to accumulate. So in that way, instead of taking negative, try to take it positive and put it in a way to accumulate merits. Then we have this body, speech, mind of advice, where the discipline on from the physical body, and when you see negative action through others, try to see it is coming from your impure view, even though it's actually coming from other. Try to see positive, so that it won't affect strong in your journey. Mm, So, uh, so if you're able to have pure view, there's nothing to lose. If you start to have negative view, you can lose someone. You can lose that person. Just kind of example. If you have a pure view, there's more cultivating, because you already included that individual in your aim, in your kind of
Focus.
focus. So all sentient beings is also included in this. When you start to have unpure, you're not trying to include, but try to avoid, separate from your focus. So in that way, you are losing when you have impurity view. So in that way, try to have more focus on the purity, where there's nothing danger of anything. Mm, Also, so when it is lost, and it is difficult to regain. So in the beginning, it's very important not to go through such a danger of losing sentient beings. Instead, accumulate. Then I think most are quite. So yeah, so we have gone through some advices, which is quite clear. Not to pretend, and also not to have the negative uh, uh, idea occur in our mind. So we continue.
Without regard for anything such as the state of your own health or what people might say about you, meditate on bodhicitta. Furthermore, meditate intently on those for whom it is hardest to generate compassion, such as adversaries and obstructive spirits. Abandon being sporadic in your Dharma practice due to a lack of certainty. Since practicing Dharma is for your own sake, do not boast about the hardship you are undergoing, no matter how great they are. When others expose your faults, blame you, humiliate, beat, or become irritated at you, do not respond, only meditate on compassion. Do not show your pleasure or displeasure over every little thing. If you cannot endure the slightest harm to yourself and do not do even the smallest thing to help others, you have missed the point of generating bodhicitta. Because the changing yourself for others is an especially powerful type of skillful means. Practice it with fortitude.
With this, it's also a different advice again. So basically, we have to engage with the positive quality, no matter what kind of um, uh, period of time we go through. And also the one that's difficult to be compassionate. Try that as a challenge, take that risk and try to apply cultivating more compassion. And and one thing is that like being unsure with the Dharma, not being fully acknowledged with the Dharma, and time to time practicing being interested towards the Dharma, and time to time losing self towards Dharma and engaging towards the worldly life. Then something occurs again back to Dharma. We have very funny story in Tibet. We have a certain yogi. When they do retreats, they become very spiritual. And when they come to the city, and then with their family, then that person becomes totally normal being. Then they start to regret. Then they go back to the retreat and do meditation. And they regain their spiritual. Then they start to go back to their family again, up and down, up and down. So it's more about when like one is based on the not towards wisdom, more on the how the surrounding environment. If you one rely to the surrounding environment, like totally based, so it changes. Surrounding, whenever you travel, you keep on changing the surrounding, people, environment, food. So, of course, the surrounding are very supportive towards our spiritual path, but more than that, we need to have strong foundation of spiritual, so that the surrounding environment doesn't becomes a very big importance. So in that way, it's very important to build ourselves through the spiritual foundation rather than country, environment, or the tradition. So that when it is not built with that, so then one must need to depend on a center all the time. So in the very modern way, many people do feel they are engaged with the Dharma when they go to the center. If there's no center, they feel lost. So it's not because of the center, it's more about the foundation of the mind is not built with the spiritual support of the mind training and so forth. So this is why the lacking of this start to appear. So in the very beginning, try to have this strong, try to avoid ourselves depending on the spiritual kind of environment. Although it is important, but mostly focus on towards self. And of course, while one engage with spiritual actions, the obstacle is not to show off, not to make very big deal into our practice to other. So in here, all the explained are very easy to understand. So we continue.
Merely developing bodhicitta purifies an immeasurable number of negative actions and causes virtuous actions to increase endlessly. The merit you accrue in one instant of bodhicitta is greater than the merit of offering to every Buddha as many realms as there are grains of sand in the Ganges. each filled with precious jewels. Recounting Bodhicitta's immeasurable benefits is unnecessary, as it is the essence of all dharmas. All the conduct of a bodhisattva, such as the practice of the 6 transcendences, arises from compassion alone. So do not just say, I have been meditating for this many days or months, or look at one suffering being and say, poor thing, how sad. Instead, train so that your compassion always extends to all sentient beings, without bias or discrimination. In order to ripen your own continuum, train in all aspects of virtuous activity. This is the discipline of gathering virtuous qualities. In order to ripen sentient beings, encourage them to practice the virtues that are appropriate for them. This is the discipline of benefiting beings. These two include all the vows of a bodhisattvas, and failing to do either of the two when they could be done is a transgression for a bodhisattva, it is said. Therefore, accomplish roots of virtue that are appropriate to the occasion, and encourage others to do so as well. Feeling that just a bit is enough, and clinging to indistinct experience that will not withstand adversity, is nothing more than the fault of not having studied the Buddha's scriptures and the life stories of the great beings.
With this, of course, it is mentioned that the merit is uncomparable with the generating the bodhicitta, for sure. So, and here they also, it is also mentioned that the 6 paramitas are mainly based towards the loving kindness and compassion, for sure. So, loving kindness and compassion are not something that, like a mantra where you can count. It's not something that a part of like requires a time, month. So this thing apply to all the practice of Mahayana or Vajrayana. Mondro or Yidam practice. What kind of practice is this? Although appearance might be a mantra, might be of deity form, pure realms, whatever, might appear like during the Mondro 1,000 or 100,000 of prostration, Vajrasattva accumulation mantra, or the mandala in Guru Yoga. But the quality of that is not such a form, or this is more of the quality like the nature of our being, such as compassion, loving kindness. So in that way, there is no such as limited. When we try to put as a number limited, then it becomes kind of, so these are the number, timing, are the special method to attract our mind. But in fact, in reality, the mandala practice or the Vajrasattva refuge is a quality, the practice of the quality is actually should come from our own being. So for that, we have to understand that it should be always in our being, in our presence. And the refuge is not something like the Mondro, like a part-time job or as a work. it should be part of our being. So when we look in the earlier life of the great masters of Indian or Tibetan, what kind of such great masters? They don't have specific like separate session. When they are sleeping, when they are talking, it's always mixed with the spiritual. Compassion is always there, not during the session, not during the, it is always there. So in a way, those people who interact with them always kind of experience more kind of wisdom appearing from them, not specific from the teaching, but from the way how they act. Because the practice, what they have, the way how they apply in their being. So in that way, when we see this being, we can somehow kind of receive their blessing through such their actions. So one of them is being kindness. So in that way, so here we have two different type of discipline: accumulation dharma, or the merits, and accumulating benefiting for others. So those are the two kind of cultivating the dharma activities to the discipline or to the commitment. So here we will end our refuge and the Bodhicitta session, and hopefully we have gone through the force of samsara during the first weekend. So those are something that we need to reflect on. So the more than the Monro itself, the mind training at the very basic foundation, the mindset. So that should need to be built with the proper intention. So that comes from the four common practice of mind training. So we should not keep those less important. Those are the very beginning, are very important than everything. So with that proper foundation, then we need to apply the dissolving phase and generating phase of the refuge. And then, of course, while you're doing, when the positive sign will be more blissful in your being, more devoted towards spiritual, and dedicating oneself, being aware that you are really dedicated to a spiritual. Those are the sign. And also in the dream, or what kind of, when you start to speak, somehow that leads to a spiritual kind of conversation. Those are the act of spiritually. So when you generate compassion, so when you use to compassion, like suddenly you start from the middle of nowhere, compassion conversation, more about understanding about others, of well-being and so forth. Those are the result of such practicing of a refuge. So we have to not only just practice, but we have to apply this in our own being, so that in the end, without the mundo, let's say, we need to have some change in our being. So that will be a changed mind. So that is what we actually need to see as a result. So with that, we stop here. Nam i
Evet, tamam.
Gong